Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I hope that you are all good. In today's video, we're going to be doing a build for a house that I see on Pinterest. I will insert the picture on the screen, but it wasn't actually a house. I think the building on Pinterest kind of looks more like a shop or a florist of some kind, but the whole theme was lavender and it gave me the idea to build a lavender tiny home, and I kind of envisioned that this was for an elderly couple. And then when I was looking at the picture where I said it kind of looked like a florist, I kind of imagined that maybe they used to run a florist and now they're living in this tiny kind of like a cottage home in Henford-On-Bageley, and maybe they just still sell some of their like lavender or the flowers that they grow. So I did include kind of like some tables out the front with some flowers that you could imagine are for sale. But let's jump on and talk about the build. So as I said, I wanted this to be a tiny home, mainly because the image that I see was of a smaller size. I did actually end up adding on the bump out to the side because I still wanted it to have a nice livable space. But yeah, it's a tiny home. I believe it's a tier 3 and I think this was 83 tiles. The lot is a 30 by 20 lot, so it's definitely got the potential to be made bigger. Now the shape of the house is pretty basic, but I did kind of do this kind of like a bay window bump out at the front because I wanted to add on a lot of the elements that were in the Pinterest picture into the build, and I kind of wanted to make sure that the cottage as a whole looked like it had lots of character. Now one of the things that was in the picture was kind of like these planter boxes, and I wanted to replicate them as best as I could. Now, if you go on and attach them to the house, when you've got a foundation, it all gets a bit complicated. So my planter box that I created there on the left-hand side is not actually attached to the house. So I kind of just moved some plants around and pushed things into each other to kind of cover that up. But I really liked how it looked. I did size up the grass and the lavender so it really fills it out. And again, because it's a lavender inspired build, I wanted there to be lots of lavender around the build and then obviously lots of the colour. Now here is where I mentioned I'm bringing out those tables and just adding on lots of little pots. I tried to find as many with purple plants in them as possible, and these were kind of just what I imagined that maybe they sell, perhaps they're cuttings that they grow in their garden, that kind of thing. And then I kind of was just going through the catalogue and picking out as many purple plants as I could, and then I just carry that theme on inside the house as well. I decided to go full on lavender. Now like I mentioned, this was a florist or a shop, so they kind of had like this shop sign out on the front part of their house or their building. So I did use one of the wall decals from the catalogue and tried to place that there. I do come and fix it up. I know it doesn't look right at the moment, but we do come along here and move that into place. And then I did have the tool mod installed here as well. I've just had to take it out of my game because I need to update it from the latest Sims update, but I only recently downloaded that, so I'm kind of still getting to grips with using it. But I used the tool mod to get that circular window into place, and then I wanted to come in and put the rest of the windows down, but I like to come in and get my floor plan sorted first so I can kind of get those windows where I want them to go. So we jumped on inside. It's a very simple floor plan. It is only a 1-bedroom 1-bathroom cottage, so it's nothing too big, but I did really love how cozy it turned out on the inside as well. I used a mix of windows from Cottage Living and Base Game. I really like these kind of like diamond windows from Cottage Living. Then we're going to jump on into the kitchen. We do a lot more to the garden and the landscaping, but I do come back to that after a little while. I needed a little break from landscaping, so I thought I would come in inside and we would start on the kitchen. Now I wish there was more purple shades in the game. It is my favorite color, and I really do wish we had lots more kind of like these lilac muted purple tones, but I worked with what was there and kind of tried to pair it with a little bit of orange as well to kind of mix it up a little bit, and I really loved how it turned out. Now as I said, I wanted this to be kind of for an elderly couple, so I don't usually play or build with elders in mind, but I wanted to give that a try, and I really loved how it turned out. So we are going to have a mix of kind of like more modern items and then more older looking items, maybe that they've been there for years, maybe they've slowly replaced stuff in their house, but not everything, because I kind of pictured that the older woman likes to be really traditional, so I didn't want to add in too many modern things. But I did also add a few little items in for her husband, because I kind of imagined that he actually would like to get with the times a bit more when it comes to technology, so we add a few little things in for him. But for the kitchen, I went in with these cabinets. I believe they are from the Country Kitchen kit, but I could be wrong. And I did want to include a little dining table, but it is only a very small space, so I just done 3 chairs, which is enough for the couple, and maybe if they have a guest over. I had to include things like the crock pot, and I wanted to make sure that it had that lived in feel. I did also add in the kettle as well, because we were building in Henford-On-Bageley. I kind of imagined that this was an English elderly couple, and tea is a big thing here in England, so I did add down the kettle and I add some cups, and then throughout the rest of the build I kind of make sure to leave some little cups lying around to give it that lived in feel. I did use lots of items in here from the cottage kit. I just completely forgot the name of that but I did use, not the kit, sorry, expansion pack, cottage living. I did use lots of items from cottage living as well, because I do love that style of pack. But like I said, I wanted to add in a few modern things here and there as well, like the curtains look quite modern compared to the rest of the build. And I do love to clutter up a kitchen and make it look really lived in and used. We're coming in and adding some things on the counters. I did make sure to leave a counter empty. However, at the time of doing this voiceover, I haven't play tested this build. I will go in and play test it before I upload it to the gallery, so anything that's causing any issues I will change. But I did make sure to kind of like leave space for there to be cooking, and I think it should be okay. So I wanted to add a few more decorations into this room. So I come in, we added on the aprons, and then I wanted to get a few pictures. This kind of like, as we go round to where the back door is placed, I kind of made this into a bit of a utility area. So this is where the main sink is placed down, because I didn't want to add one in where the cooker is, as it just felt a bit cramped. So I kind of had this little utility area around to the side, and then we've got a sink there, and then you have got the washer and dryer combo as well. I swapped out this larger cabinet for a smaller one just because it didn't seem to fit how I wanted it to, and I didn't have anything else I wanted to add to that, so I just popped that smaller one down. And then of course we've got a bin over in that corner, and then I done our lighting, and now we're going to move on into the living room. I wanted to keep all of the lavender lilac-y tones, but try and change it up a little bit into each room. And then of course, when I see that I'd created this bay window, I had to add in this seat. I really love this sofa, but it doesn't fit into many builds that I do, so because this one had that perfect window bump out for it, I added that in. And this is where we're going to add in the older TV as well. So I kind of imagined that the woman, she doesn't do modern and technology, so there's no way she's having a big flat screen TV in her cozy little cottage, but she has allowed her husband to have a small older style one, along with, I think it's a gramophone as well, or like record style player thing, I'm not 100% sure, but we added that down. And then I'm just popping on some little decorative items. I popped up the pictures of the dogs, as I do put in items for there to be a pet here, and I kind of envisioned them having a little yappy dog. So there will be some pet bowls and some beds put down. Now this is kind of like an awkward shape living room, it's not massive, so I wanted to try and make as much use of the space as I could. We do pop down a chess table, as I like to imagine that these are the kind of older couple, like I said, they're not massively into technology, so I wanted to make sure there was things like the bookcase, the chess table, maybe they're really into their hobbies, but I did envision them more as outdoorsy people, so we do kind of add a few more things down in the garden. And then I wanted to add, I spent ages picking out curtains. I did cut out the footage. I wanted some that looked a little bit more traditional, but I don't feel as though there's enough nice ones of those in the game, so I went for this more modern look. And things like curtains are fairly reasonably priced in real life, so if you was going to upgrade something and want to make it look a little bit modern, things like curtains and rugs are easier things to upgrade rather than like larger pieces of furniture like sofas and stuff like that. So I kind of was going with that in mind. And then this is where we add in the little chess table, and I quite liked how this corner turned out. I added in just 2 dining style chairs and the little picture up above, and it kind of just looked really cozy. We're going to come in and add some pet bowls. Now it's not a massive space, but I do feel as though I fit quite a bit into it. I wanted to go for a nice warm cozy looking light, and then we're going to move on into their bedroom. And again here I wanted to keep with those lilac tones, but I didn't want every room to be the same. I kind of envisioned that obviously it's a lavender build, and I imagined that they were maybe florists or lavender farmers even back when they was younger, and the woman really loves those colors, so she's just incorporated them in to the entire build. Now this room does have a little bit more of a modern feel to it. I feel as though it's kind of got more of a mid-century look because of the furniture, the dresser and the little side table. It was a small room, so usually I would put a side table on both sides of the bed, but because it was quite a small room I just added one. And then on this side you can still clutter this side up, so it's still kind of like a bedside table. I did add on the 2 wall lights, and then I decided to put 2 switches next to the bed because I kind of imagined that those individual switches control those individual lights. I thought that was a nice little touch. And then we're just going to come in and add in a wardrobe and a few other little clutter items. I think I do add some plants in here as well because I try to add those in every room, as they obviously are plant lovers. And then of course we're going to get a rug, and I didn't want it to be too matchy, but I liked adding on the bit of the orange tone with the lilac-y pink shade. I think it looks quite pretty, and this rug worked perfectly. Something that I see in a lot of older style homes is these built-in cupboards up against a bed, and usually you would have wardrobes running down the side of them, but I just put them across the bed, and they would in real life make great storage for things that you don't use all the time, things like curtains and bedding, etc. So I thought that they was a nice touch. And then we're going to move on into the bathroom. Now I feel as though this does look quite old, you know, the tiles give it a bit more of a 60s 70s look, so it's got that look as though they haven't got money to necessarily go in and renovate. And then like I said, they don't really necessarily love the modern things, so they've kept it looking a bit older. I did play around with tool here to change the size of this sink so it fitted in nicely with the cabinets. And then I went for the shower tub combo because I felt as though this one looked a little bit older and well used. And then we're just going to come in and clutter up the sides. I don't imagine these as like minimalist people. I imagine these as people who have collected a lot of knickknacks and stuff over the years, and they love their plants, so I wanted to make sure that there was lots of bits on all of the sides. And then of course I was going through trying to find as many purple items as I could that would fit the style of the build, because obviously there isn't actually that many purple things, and then to find things that are not too modern looking that would fit was a little bit of a challenge, I'm not gonna lie. But I did like how the overall build turned out. So now we have finished inside, I'm going to move on to outside. Originally I kind of just fenced off a fairly small size garden, but then I decided to use the lot. We're building on a 30 by 20, so there's plenty of space to kind of make a little bit more of an outdoor space. So I went and kind of added in this wavy, kind of like crazy looking path, and then I decided this is where they would be growing lots of their lavender. So I've just popped down lots of the lavender bushes, but then I didn't want it to look too overboard, so I made sure to scatter in some of the low-lying green bushes and then some of this kind of like more wilder looking grass. I always go in, or not always, but a lot of the time I go in and add down 2 wheelie bins because I like to imagine that one's for recycling, so we added those there as well, so they're kind of tucked away out of the side and keeping the curb appeal for the front of the house. I do love that there is wisteria in the Sims 4. It's one of my favourite plants, so I went and added in some of that growing up the side of the build, and I really liked how this side of the house turned out because it's got a nice bit of character. I do come back in and do a little bit more terrain painting further along in the video, but for now we're going to come in and finish up that garden area. And I wanted this to be a space that they spend a lot of their time, so I made sure to add in a dining table. I've popped down 4 chairs so that they can have some friends or family over. I didn't actually envision this couple with any children, so I didn't add anything, maybe like I didn't add nothing like a guest room or space for people to come and stay, but I do imagine maybe that they have friends or family that come to visit, and then when they do come to visit, they'll host them in the garden. So I popped down a little barbecue, and then I just felt as though once I started envisioning this couple, I then started thinking that they would be the kind of perfect couple to have some chickens and a little allotment patch in their garden. So we're going to add both of those in. Starting off with the chickens, we've just fenced off another section of the garden, placed down the little chicken hut, and then I did just grab some chickens out of the catalogue just because I thought it would look nice in the video. And then we're going to start on that little allotment patch next door. I then did get distracted by the door going, so if you heard my dog bark in the background, I do apologise. But yeah, we're going to start on that little allotment patch. I just planted or popped down some of the oversized planters, and then I kind of just leave that as it is for now. We do come in and fill it in with some terrain paint, but it's obviously only really a small space, so I didn't want to do too much to it. I did want some more plants growing up the walls, so we're going to come in and add those on now. I just wanted to add a little bit more character to that side of the build. And then the same here, I felt as though it was just looking a little bit too plain on this side, so we're going to come in and add just some random bits. I think I popped down the air vent, the hanging basket, the guttering. I didn't go too overboard. I then did come in, I don't know if I did it off camera, if I did include it in the video, but I added in the porch cover thing. I've completely forgot what it's called over the back door. But here I'm just going in and doing some terrain painting and kind of just fixing up some last little bits that I wasn't 100% happy with in the landscaping. And then I'm just going to come in and finish up that last bit of terrain paint. And then that does bring us to the end of the video. So I will have this available to download on the Sims 4 gallery. So I'll leave all of the information for that in the description box below. But I just wanted to take a moment to thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a thumbs up. I'm hoping to get back into the flow of not only building but recording for YouTube, so I shall hopefully have some more videos coming soon. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Lots of love, take care, bye bye.